Hey ladies and gents, boys and girls, or the three people who actually watch these videos. Another car park movie review. It's been a while since I've been to the cinema with all the McGubbins that's going on at the moment. I think the last film I watched was Spider-Man, which was a little bit meh and a little bit great, weirdly. I've just come out of Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, which is a bit of a mouthful. The latest film in the Fast and Furious franchise, bit of a spin-off. It's actually better than expected. I'm not a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. I think it kind of run its course a while back. I know it had a resurgence and kind of became a Mission Impossible kind of clone, heist movie type clone thing. I'm really diverged away from what the original film was. If you go back and watch that original film, it's shocking how like poles apart they are now, but they make all the money in the world, so they will continue to keep making these movies because they're insanely popular and successful. So what do I know? Okay, so this film is a spin-off featuring Hobbs and Shaw, Jason Statham and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's characters from the latter Fast and the Furious films, facing off against Idris Elba and his kind of mechanically enhanced cyber stroke Terminator type character Brixton, hunting down like a virus which what's her face? I can't even remember her name. I can remember her name, but I can't remember her first name. Vanessa Kirby, who I last saw in Mission Impossible Fallout, funnily enough. She kind of joins the team this time around, and she's pretty good. She is pretty good. I thought when her character's introduced, I thought, oh, here we go. We've got another incredibly beautiful, skinny, blonde female character who happens to be this highly trained spy, and is able to punch people across rooms as if she's the size of The Rock. And I was like, oh, here we go. It's going to be that old chestnut again. And to an extent it is, but it kind of serves to set up the world that this movie is taking place in this kind of like semi-heightened reality, with future, like super future tech, you know, where we've got bio-enhanced superhuman villains in the movie and all that kind of jazz. But yeah, she's kind of good. I think the direction she was going was like a young Helen Mirren, because Helen Mirren is in this again, reprising the role as Shaw's mum, and yeah, she's pretty kick-ass. Jason Statham, he's, you know, he can obviously hold his own in an action film. The quality of the action films he's been putting out recently are questionable, but this one is, you know, pretty good. It's fun. It's fun in a really dumb way. I did have fun with it. It is massively overlong. Massively. There were like entire segments of the film where I was like, fucking hell, are we still going? And then when we get to the finale, I was kind of like, this should have been done in the last kind of segment. But yeah, it's too long. I think it's like an hour and 15, and it feels 2 hours and 15, so it's like 135 minutes, I think it is, but it feels a lot longer. longer, because the pacing is not great. It feels like a 4-act movie. The action is decent. It's directed by David Leitch. And for those guys that don't know, he co-directed the first John Wick movie. He didn't come back to direct John Wick 2 because he was busy doing Deadpool 2. And he did Atomic Blonde, the female equivalent of John Wick with Charlize Theron. He did that, and now he's done this. It's a little bit. I feel like he's a good action director, evidenced from obviously what he's done with John Wick and Atomic Blonde and Deadpool 2. But I feel the bigger the budget, the less interesting his action scenes are. So yeah, not his best action, but enjoyable. What I will say with the action, when I'm thinking about it now, is the more real world the action is, the better it is in this movie. When it becomes what I really didn't like about the kind of the Fast and Furious movie, the later Fast and Furious movies, especially when you got a Lamborghini crashing through one window, and then you got that shot between the two buildings, and it's going out of one window down and then through into another skyscraper. I was just like, fuck off, because the suspension of disbelief became increasingly difficult for me with those movies, because like I say, I was there for the first Fast and the Furious movie, and the tone in which the later films took was so counter to where they started from. I wasn't able to suspend disbelief. The first film kind of centered all around, or the first few films all centered around real world, stunt driving, and it was done to a really, really high level, and then it just became a CGI fest where it's kind of don't worry about it, we'll have CGI cars jumping from one skyscraper to another. And I was like, that didn't feel like Fast and the Furious to me, and I checked out. I was just like, this isn't Fast and the Furious anymore. But obviously I'm wrong in that regard, because they make billions and billions and billions. But this one does have an action set piece in the latter kind of portion of the film, the second half of the film, which goes into that whole CGI, vehicular, crashy, smashy, bangy wallop. And that's where I kind of felt, this is a little bit too long now, and kind of a little bit too bloated. They could have got rid of that entire section, which feels, oddly enough, cut down. There's a sequence where they're setting up and preparing to go into this, and then all of a sudden the action scene starts, and I'm like, what just happened? There's a big chunk, feels like it happened off screen and they just cut it out for time. So it goes from the setup to what feels like, the action scene's already started? What? How did that work? What did I miss? It felt like I went out to the toilet for a piss mid-movie and came back, and I'd missed that scene, but I didn't go out for a piss. Yeah. But, one of those things. I think they realised that the film was getting a little bit bloated and a little bit kind of long in the runtime sense, and they were like, we'll just chop out, a 5-10 minute sequence, and no one will know, because we'll just get straight to the kind of smashy bangy stuff. So yeah. I don't really have much more to say about it. It is kind of one of those old school dumb action films where you really do have to kind of check your brain at the door. The kind of late 80s, early 90s action movie kind of vibe about it, but set in a contemporary way where it's taking advantage of, like, you know, the stunt. Oh, hello. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted by an attractive lady walking past. How misogynistic and whatever. She was pretty enough. Yeah, it feels like one of those late 80s, early 90s action films, which is dumb and loud and makes no fucking sense when you actually start to think about it, but a 2019 version of that. What else? I'm not the biggest fan of The Rock. However, he plays his part in this. I'm not the biggest fan of Jason Statham. But again, he plays his part in this. And you stick them two guys together and they start slagging each other off. There is fun to be had there. However, there is a massive kind of like preoccupation when they start butting heads and slagging each other off. To talk about their dicks. And I've just realised that this video is going to be portrait because I forgot to flip the phone around sideways. Yeah. It's better than what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting much out of it. But it's too long, and it has, you know, some serviceable action and some action scenes that are kind of above average. They're not great, but they're above average. It just felt like every element of it has been borrowed from another movie. So the kind of central MacGuffin that everyone is chasing after, this kind of like virus that has to, you know, that gets stolen and then the bad guys want it and the good guys have to stop the bad guys from getting. That feels very Mission Impossible 2-y. And then the kind of like the super enhanced bad guy, that's been done before, but Idris Elba's kind of like having fun with it, you know. He makes it work. It actually feels, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of him, kind of like fleshed out a little bit, because he kind of gets shortchanged towards the end of the film, in a way. I think it could have been a little bit more interesting, but they weren't going for that. They were just going for kind of like a popcorn crowd pleaser type thing. So yeah, I would say if you like the Fast and Furious movies, go and check this out. You're probably going to enjoy it a lot more than most. Although there isn't really much that ties it. This could easily have been a different movie with The Rock and Statham in it playing different characters. It easily could have been an action movie with them two kind of like together and have no connection to the Fast and Furious world beyond those characters, because that is literally it. But I think obviously the brand and the audience, by attaching Fast and Furious Presents, that's built into it. Here's a spoiler, in that it's not really a spoiler, but it's absolutely set up for a sequel. So I think they're hoping, not that I hope, I think they are hoping that this spin-off is going to evolve into its own kind of franchise beyond the Fast and Furious, and they are doing another Fast and Furious, aren't they? I think they are. It makes too much money for them not to. I know the whole Paul Walker thing aside, but they kind of like they sunsetted that character off, you know, in a respectful manner. So they could, I'm sure they are, without googling him. But it feels like, you know, with the success of the MCU and characters being able to carry their own movies, that the Fast and Furious, you know, masterminds are like, oh, we'll have a piece of that pie, and we'll absolutely sequelize Hobbs and Shaw. So there doubtless will be a Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw 2. That can't be the fucking name of the next movie, though. However, that said, I today's Saturday. I went to the 11:30 showing at the cinema that I go to. There were, and it was in screen 7, which is the biggest screen that they have. There was about 12 people in there, myself included. So maybe there won't be. Will it bomb? It looked an expensive. I know David Leitch, the director, can do a lot with a small budget. I mean, he's proven that with, his previous films. I'd have to check the budget on this, but if this is like, it felt like a $100 million movie with the amount of CG and smashy, bangy, crashy stuff going on and jumping locations. Because it does jump locations quite a bit. So if this is a $100 million movie, it'll need to make a lot to obviously, incentivize a sequel there. And I know it was a relatively early showing on a Saturday, and it is a nice day. Although the clouds are rolling over, it is a hot day. It's 25 degrees in the car at the moment. So I am sweating a little bit. I would have expected more people there, especially considering it is a Fast and Furious movie. It is a 12A, and it is a rock movie. So I am a little bit surprised that there wasn't more like teens in there, like young teenage boys who like that kind of movie. But I could be, it could just be the showing that I went into. So who knows? It may do. Come on, guy, if you're going. Fuck me, people can't fucking pass. Yeah. So, Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. If you're a fan of the franchise, then I'm sure you're going to go and watch this regardless. If you're not a fan of the franchise and you want to see a kind of like dumb, old school action movie with updated special effects and all that kind of jazz, go and watch it. It's pretty fun. It is stupid as fuck, and it does. I tell you what. Before, I know I'm getting sidetracked here, but it does that whole thing where, in the climax of the film, there is literally a ticking clock put on, and the time passage, if it doesn't follow the rules of known time whatsoever. So there's kind of like there's a visible ticking clock literally on the back of one of the characters. They have a countdown on their back throughout the climax of the film, and the kind of everyone's gearing up, and when they cut from one scene to another, there's an assumed passage of time where they're all gearing up and getting themselves ready. And then when, like, partway through the final battle, only 9 minutes have passed. And it's like, it's gone from night to day. The sun has risen, but only 9 minutes has passed on the clock. And it drives me mad when they do stuff like that. It kind of takes you out of the movie and you're like, hang on a minute. It was nighttime 5 minutes ago, now it's daytime. And now all of this shit's happened in the middle and you're telling me only 9 minutes have passed. Go fuck yourself. But like I say, it's not it's not a smart movie by any means. It is a big dumb movie. Couple of good cameos in there. I say a couple. There's 3 cameos that stand out in that film. 2 of which I enjoyed, and there is a connection between those 2 characters and the director of the film. And when you kind of like figure that out, and you're like, oh, okay. Because one of them's obvious, and then the second one is kind of like, oh, right, okay, yeah. So it's a little bit of a deeper cut. And then the 3rd cameo is just kind of like, it was a person that I really don't fucking like. But there's kind of history between him and one of the stars of the film. So, that a lot of people will get a kick out of that. And blah blah blah. Anyway, yeah. If I was gonna rate it, this is on the 5-star scale. I'd say this is. It's a 3 out of 5. It's a 3 out of 5. I had fun with it, but you really do have to turn your brain off and all that kind of. Although the fucking guy sat behind me was like, someone was like riding a motorbike and he was laughing away, and I'm like, it's not a fucking. Why? He was laughing at everything, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that was a funny line. But then, just a piece of, action would happen and he'd start laughing, and I'm like, it's just a guy riding a motorbike. Why is that so funny? I didn't get it. He was having a ball with the film, and I'm like, I wish I was having as much fun as this guy, because I don't know if he was high, or I don't think he was high because he had kids with him. It was a family. He was a dad. He was having a ball with the film, and I was kind of like, I wish I was watching the fucking film that he was watching, because he was having so much fun than what I was having with the film, even though I did enjoy it. I keep fucking saying that over and over again. So yeah, go watch it. 3 out of 5 if you like it. Go watch it, whatever. And hopefully I will be back soon on the Untitled Film Podcast. I know the boys have got a couple of things lined up already. So I will be making my return to the podcast soon, and hopefully I'll be doing another one of these videos, and I'll remember to do it in landscape as opposed to portrait. See, this is why I couldn't be a director, because I'd probably get my lenses all mixed up and my aspect ratios. But yeah, anyway, enjoy your weekend, guys, and I'll catch you on the next Car Park Movie Review. Bye!